Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another Timmons podcast. I'm your host, Timon, and this is my podcast, Real Conversations with Authentic People. And today I got a great conversation here for us. First off, let's get to some business. Follow me on Twitter and YouTube, Timmons Podcast on both. And also, if you'd be interested in sponsoring an episode, I'd love to chat with you. TimmonsPodcast@gmail.com is where all business inquiries go. Things are going well. Thank you, everyone, for the support and just seeing people out talking about the podcast. That's so cool. Cool to hear how this is spreading near and far. So today I'm sitting with Kellam Venosky, and we're talking about he's running for District 4 of Goshen City Council. We had a really good conversation. I love bringing people on. He's in my area, so we also have a past. I've known him for a long time, so I thought it'd be great to hear what he's doing, why he's doing it, and how that's been. I think it's great to sit down and probe a little bit. No matter what side of the aisle you are on, it's always good to know what people are doing in your community. And so he did a really good job of explaining that and dropped some knowledge, honestly, about what the city council does and why they're important and why you should vote for it. So November 7th, make sure you get out and vote. We'll let that go. Anyways, Kellam, thank you so much for coming on. It was an honor. Guys, enjoy this conversation. We'll see you on the next Timmons podcast. Bye. Kellam, welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Timon. It's good to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, man. Have you ever been on a podcast before?
I have not.
Okay, let's go. Yes, that's what I was looking for. So, yeah, man, pretty easy, man. So I'm so thankful. When I saw your Instagram post, I was like, okay, this is cool. And I was like, dude, we need to get you on. Once I figured out what district you're in, I was like, I need to get you on. So first off, for listeners at home, tell people who you are. And where are you from? All that fun stuff.
Yeah, so I'm Kellam Venosky. I am originally from here in the Goshen area, so a lifelong resident here in Goshen. Then went to Grace College for schooling, and then now back in Goshen since 2015, working currently at Goshen College as a senior admissions counselor, where I also work with our international students. And prior to that, I worked at Subway and then the Oasis, or the O, here in town.
The O.
So I love the city. That's, kind of background. A little bit of who I am and, my background here in Goshen. Yeah,
we connected at Grace College.
Yeah, that's right.
Our freshman year on the same hall. I think we were next door.
We were next door neighbors.
Yeah. So it was kind of cool. I mean, and we've seen each other throughout the years, whether it's at events or at Aldi with you and an international student showing him all the great deals at Aldi to buy.
He goes there quite frequently, actually.
I do too. So, it's the best place to shop at Goshen. Maple City Market's really great too, but they don't have the cheap deals that you can get at Aldi and good produce and stuff too.
Yeah.
And was that student, I forget, Tim, I think his name was Tim. Was he from Germany?
He is.
So
he's a German soccer player.
He knows the beautiful pieces of Aldi and the fact that his culture brings great quality to Goshen, Indiana. Pretty sure Aldi is a German-run company, but that's why I said Anyways, it's I was playing with Noah, my daughter, and she sits on this rug, and I'm looking at the rug, and it was a T-shirt rug of all my stuff at college, and then my mom had stitched all of the plays I was in from high school
really cool.
and college, and I was looking, and we were in multiple plays together. I think were you in Curtains?
Yes, I was.
Were you in Dracula?
I was I had to drop out of that show. But I was cast, but I had to drop out.
Yeah, I thought because I remember practicing doing the singing with you, maybe or maybe not. But it was. I was looking at that, and I think we were in a couple of these together.
Yep.
Curtains was our freshman year.
Yeah, it was, and that was like a huge production.
It was massive. Very intricate. Shout out to Mike Yoakum and the whole crew.
Yeah, absolutely, and like. To Jen Dow and Scott Michaels from Wagon Wheel, just our choreographers. made the show.
I didn't realize. I mean, it was the first one that I'd done in college. I mean, but we did a lot. I mean, we did work at figuring out how to do the moves and just practicing. I remember going to that old music hall that was like, I think they turned it into dorms or sold it, or it turned into Trine Extension or something.
East Hall.
Yeah, East Hall. Yeah,
That's what it's called now. I was just down there for a tennis match.
Really?
So I
watching or playing?
Watching.
Okay. Yeah. I don't go to Grace's often. Sometimes I go there and just get a little. No, I'm joking. It's good. It's not too bad. But sometimes I hate on Grace a little bit. It wasn't bad, but yeah. I was. I remember those times. But yeah, what did you study at Grace?
Yeah. So I went in with elementary and special education with a minor in youth ministry. Then it kind of transformed into a communications degree focusing on theater and a minor in youth ministry.
Wow. Yeah. So you did it.
So a lot of people studies.
Yeah.
That's what I tell a lot of people.
Yeah. And so then what happened and you kind of alluded to that. Then did you get your job immediately at Goshen College after that when you graduated?
Yeah. So right after graduation in 2015, I completely, I was a commuter student at that time. Yeah. And so I was working at Subway here just next to Menards and was looking for something bigger. So actually started in the dining hall at Goshen College.
Nice. Wow.
That August. So I graduated in May and then started at the college in August.
No way.
So kind of, I was a freshman with all of the first year students who were moving in around that same time. And then I moved over to the admissions office around November in 2015.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was that a big difference from going from Grace to Goshen a little bit?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a big learning curve. Different cultures, different vibes.
Yeah. It's different. It's interesting. But yeah, I wondered that. I mean, I do being in Goshen, there's a uniqueness to this city, and a lot of that does stem from the influence of Goshen College. Mm-hmm. A lot of good gets off there, maybe some bad too. I think every place has good and bad, right? But I've never been to the colleges or interacted with the college, but I've felt the vibes from there.
One of my first earlier memories of Goshen College is the Heritage Fair that the international students put on. Really during the summer, it was like $5 admission.
Yeah.
And just getting food, having entertainment from these different cultures that are being represented. That doesn't happen so much anymore.
Yeah. They stopped that.
They did. Just as like the international population was shrinking a little bit, but now have the International Student Coffee House instead. So they are wanting to really bring about international cultures that are there at the college.
Yeah, that was a big focus for Goshen College for a long time, was the international piece.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they've pivoted more towards commuter students, but yeah, that's pretty fascinating. Yeah, I remember I grew up in Goshen too. Yeah. So I remember going to that once or twice, having food that I'd never had before.
Yeah.
What is
it's like new things to experience, which is one of the things that I love about downtown Goshen. Yeah. And I feel like that is really stemmed a little bit from that, is like all of the different cultures and the foods and the people that are downtown Goshen can be seen downtown Goshen at First Fridays.
The variety.
Or just the variety. And which is one thing that kind of, excites me about this community.
Yeah. There's like 7 different communities inside of this that are like pretty prevalent. I forgot. Do you want to drink? Have you ever had a Spindrift? It is non-alcoholic. I call it a church beer. It's just like a carbonated water, but with real fruit. And I have water, LaCroix, tea. I have a couple different.
Yeah, let's go with the water. After a walk of putting things on doors for the district, water is definitely needed.
So tell me, this is kind of why I wanted to get you on. Tell me a little bit about what your endeavor is right now.
Yeah. So
feel free to drink. I can wait maybe a little bit.
All right,
folks, let him take a little sip before. Yeah, we can always cheers. Cheers to Kellam. Welcome.
Thanks. Yeah. So right now, I am in the middle of a campaign running for District 4 City Council here in Goshen, which is a pretty new venture for me. Not one that I really would have seen myself doing.
Yeah.
And really, the end of August was kind of when I was put on the ballot for the Republican Party.
Wow.
So it's still really fresh, really new for me. But it's been a lot of fun. A big learning curve. As I said, it's not really something I ever thought of.
Yeah.
But being president of a couple of clubs in college kind of prepared me in a way of not knowing that it would prepare me, but as a way to talk to people, interact with. So the club that I was part of, Circle K International.
Yeah.
So really getting to know different college students and going to different college campuses, interacting with their student body and seeing how we could be of service. And so service is kind of like a heartbeat of mine. And so which is something that I love about running in this campaign of serving this community. And so like with that club and interacting with all those people, putting on different events, doing fundraising, like it's kind of all led me to this moment.
The management of it,
Yes.
the organization of it, the hey, we're doing this now. Why aren't you here or whatever? I need volunteers. Yeah. Yeah. Did you guys have like meetings and stuff too? I'm sure if you're on leadership, you're probably doing the planning, all that stuff for Circle K. Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, I was the secretary for 1 year, and then I was president for 2 years.
So you're doing the notes.
So I was taking all of the notes, and then president, still taking the notes, really overseeing all of the events and advertising the events.
Yeah.
So
wow.
Yeah.
It's
getting
funny
people
how
to events.
Yeah. That's the hardest thing.
Yeah. Right.
Getting people motivated to do something. And it's really interesting. Like the older I get, the more I realize like, oh, that trivial thing I thought was trivial when I did it is helping me so much now in this phase of life. Not that I'm saying Circle K was trivial, but
Sure.
I'm thinking about one time when I was working for an organization, I was putting their newsletter together. I'm like, that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to do this or this or this. And now I do newsletters for everyone. I'm like, wow, I'm glad I learned that skill then. And now
it's interesting how those things come into our lives at just random times or what seems random. And it's like, oh, I can then apply this later on of like, oh, I did this exact thing, used this exact program, and now it's like, oh yeah, I'm using it again. Like
I'm native to it.
Unbeknownst to me, like it's right here. It was kind of delivered right to me.
Yeah. So you're running for District 4. How many districts are in Goshen?
So there are 5 districts.
Okay. So you're running for District 4. What does that cover? Like, what would you say? I mean, that's probably all wonky and who knows what.
Yeah, so the city of Goshen did a little redistricting and rezoning. And so District 4 has a little bit of 7th and 8th Street, part of where we are.
Yep.
And then to the other side of Plymouth, so stopping at College Avenue.
Okay.
But then only going to a certain portion of 7th and 8th Street.
Oh.
So there is a little cutoff, and so there is so I have a map of all of the districts of knowing
exactly
where all of the boundaries are.
Yeah, because you can't go hang your stuff. Oh, it would be.
I mean, this last week I actually just hung out in District 3.
Oh, really?
And I was hanging door hangers for the representative of District 3.
Wow.
And then also went to a neighborhood association picnic in District 3.
Oh, that's cool.
In support
Saturday?
of,
So was that?
that was over at Dykstra
Dykstra?
Park.
Yeah. Yes.
So I was supporting Matt Schrock and then also Ben Rogers, who was running for mayor of Goshen.
Yeah. Ben and I, childhood friends.
So yeah.
That's very cool. But you said August is when you got the news that you were put on the ballot.
Yeah.
So talk me through this. Like, how did this happen? Because, maybe I don't know if I want. How did you get these aspirations to do this too? All right. I'll let you go. But yeah.
Yeah. So when I was officially asked, it was actually through my mom when we were on vacation in Hawaii this summer, and it was my family, my sister who lives out in Seattle, Washington, and then myself, and my sister and I were at the table. And she is like, okay, so don't laugh, but I was just asked if Kellam would want to run. And my sister and I, we kind of looked at each other. We did laugh.
Yeah.
Because, it's like out of the blue, like what? And then I was like, all right, I'll get back with them after vacation.
Yeah.
So after vacation was Momentum Youth Conference. So it was still like vacation for me. And it was really a time for me to pray and process this decision of if this was something that like the Lord was calling me to do, something that I wanted to do. And by the end of that week, there were just like certain sessions where it's like, God has you planted exactly where you are for when you are there and when you're needed. And I was like, I get that. Like that makes a lot of sense to me. And like right now, being in the city of Goshen, seeing like the good and the bad and just kind of everything in between, it's like I want to be of service for the better of this community that God has planted me in. And so that kind of led me the end of the week. I was like, all right, God, I'm doing this. And so I let the Republican Party know shortly after I came back from Momentum Youth Conference. And that was pretty much it.
Wow. Were you part of the Republican Party? Like, were you going to their meetings and
no, I was not.
Was your mom and dad part of that stuff? Or how?
No. So
how did they get your name?
Yeah.
out?
So they so we've lived in Goshen our entire lives.
Yeah.
My mom and stepdad, they campaigned for Brad Rogers.
Yes.
When he was running for sheriff. And so, like, they've been involved in the Republican Party for, like, a variety of things. And
supported it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's the way that I was raised to vote. And, like, vote early, vote often. Yeah, vote often.
Vote in primaries.
Yes,
that's
absolutely. And like knowing like general elections that aren't as populated at the polls,
right?
And like so wanting to get
the
that
presidential
out.
Election is the biggest one. Everyone, but there's stuff happening all the time.
Correct.
Every 2 years we got different senators, different governors. They're on a different schedule. Sometimes they match up with when the president is. I mean, a little bit enough, but yeah.
So every 2 years, it'll be some new election campaign time, and it's a really exciting time. It's a really exhausting time, if that's the right word that I want to use. But it's just a lot of planning ahead of knowing like, these are the events that are scheduled that I should go to, like to see the residents of the city of Goshen, as there are so many residents here. Yeah. Everyone has a different story, and it's really, hey, I want to hear your story. Like, yes, we are a community wanting to live in unity, but we are so many different parts of the body.
And your experience is going to be different than anyone else's. And I think about it like, let's just pull three different groups that I know of. We'll go for the Ukrainian population here, the Hispanic population, and the Amish population. Those are going to be three totally different experiences, all living inside of this area, living side by side.
Yes.
They'll have different stories, different needs, different ideas of what needs to be done, different backgrounds of. Can you hear my baby crying?
Yeah.
It
happens.
Yeah, this is
it's adulting. It is a family life.
Yeah, it's great.
Gotta love that.
Right.
Appreciate that.
If the baby doesn't cry, it's not a good podcast.
Yeah, there you go.
But I just love that there's so much uniqueness here, but there's different stories to be told and different needs because of the backgrounds. And so that's where you're going out there now and probably just sampling, right, from different things. Wow, that's fascinating. When is the election?
Yeah, so election day is November 7th.
Okay. 2023 or 2024?
2023.
Okay.
Yeah, so early voting, October 16th. Then there are a couple of days for Saturday voting, which would be October 28th, November 4th. And then, yes, election day. So get out to the polls on November 7th.
Wow.
From 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And cast your vote for, your representatives of the city of Goshen.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's exciting. So what are you running on, I would say? Like, what's kind of the things that you really see for District 4, things that you've heard, ideas that you want to change, or what and even, I mean, city council, what does that even role entail? Like, I'd love to hear some of that stuff.
Yeah, so city council essentially just hearing the stories, hearing the needs of this community, of the meetings that I've been to, the neighborhood association picnics that I've been to. A lot of like the hard hitting topics come down to affordable housing, coming down to education, just the overall education system, whether that be paying the teachers the amount that they rightfully have earned and deserve to be paid in order to keep them at those schools, or just like what is being taught. And then also like other kind of heavy hitting topics of supporting of the arts, which being a member of the arts community is very much important to me.
Yeah.
And then also the police, like supporting the local police, supporting the police around the world, supporting the firefighters as well. So
kind of
those are
infrastructure.
Exactly.
Things.
So that's kind of where I am headed, of like my ideas of where I want to kind of focus my time and my efforts. Of course, if elected, I will, look at like city council as a whole, but as a person representing District 4, really listening to those voices in those particular areas of education, of the arts, of the police, of the city infrastructure, of housing, and seeing how District 4 can help raise up later leaders, raise up finances, whatever that is, to continue to build and grow Goshen.
Yeah, that one. We're a growing city.
Yes.
We're growing rapidly. And so I think it's like this weird dance because, I mean, and you grew up in Goshen, I grew up in Goshen, and it's different than when it was. It's not bad. Yes. It's cool how it's shaping and changing, but it's also shaping and changing, the world shaping and changing at such a faster pace that I think maybe that's just because I'm getting older.
Sure.
Right. But
be like, I see things more clearly. I now see the world around me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. In the past I was pretty good in my own world, but I want this community to be a place that I grew up and I was able to have this world around me that allowed me to learn, to live, to thrive. And I want that for the next generation too. And so I think that's a very important thing. I've talked about this before with other people, but one of my philosophies is when it comes to individualism, you've got to figure out your issues first. I think that's a big thing of just looking at, okay, I can't change everyone, but I can change myself. I think that's a really big thing to think about and learn. Then when it comes to family, everything that is mine is also my family. Very almost like communistic in a way in that aspect. Like, if you need my car, you need my house, if you need a state, you're my family. And I think a lot of conservatives live in that world. They would agree with me on those things. But when it comes to community, I want to protect my community to allow the next generation to do the same thing where they can figure out their problems and care for their family. Yes. And so sometimes I see that a lot of people get stuck on the 2 and forget about the third, and the third's very important as well. And so I understand exactly what you're saying. Like, this community you're trying to help with this community, raise up those things. That's fascinating. Did you? How do I want to ask this question? Did you like when they were kind of talking about bringing you on and running and stuff? Were you kind of giving them your ideas, or do you guys have an agenda? The whole Republican Party that's running have an agenda that's kind of focused towards, like, I don't know if you have like one main thing you guys are focusing on, or if there's multifaceted, each person's bringing their own little flavor.
Yeah. So ultimately, as a party, what's on one of our flyers that'll be going out here shortly is all about how to build a stronger and vibrant community. We're looking at local issues of caring about affordable housing, quality education, environmental protection.
Those are important.
And building like a safe community. But then also for us on city council, creating a checks and balance of the city government. So making sure that all of the funds, all of the resources are going to help grow and create a safe environment here in Goshen as there are many families here in the Goshen area. Like, how do we create a safe space? And just like you're talking about, Timon, like wanting to have, like, really want to care for our community, care for our family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. So it sounds like you guys are all very similarly focused, which is great. So you're on the same team. I mean, obviously, but what I guess Goshen is known not to be a very conservative. There's a lot of conservative pockets here, but if you look at the leadership that's been here and those who are elected, certain areas are more conservative and others aren't. But on the whole, I feel like we're a little bit more of a liberal city. Do you feel like it's a little bit of an uphill battle for you, or have you got a lot of warm reception, or what are your thoughts on those things?
So through like the I'll start with the Republican Party in part. First, they're really excited about the Republican candidates for this cycle, which
it's really young.
Yeah, it's
so cool.
There are 5 of us under the age of 40.
Yeah.
And so, which is just really exciting, wanting to bring youth to the city.
Wait, there's young Republicans?
Right.
I thought they were all 80.
There are young Republicans who really care about this city. And like, yeah, so the Republican Party is really excited about who all is on the ballot, the range of experience, the range of diversity, the range of age. Where not every Republican is an 80-year-old man.
Right. Right.
And so even like at different events, now kind of shifting into like the Democrat side and then also in the swing voter side, there has been a fairly warm reception to who is on the ballot, knowing that. So for me, having my connections with Goshen College, and which is seen as a very liberal school. Yeah. And like people know me, like some respect me. So it's like I
was going to ask about that.
So it's like I mean I wouldn't say that they would like endorse endorse me. But it's like, oh yeah, like thinking of, hey, maybe Kellam, maybe like because of what they're doing, what we know about him, maybe like I can vote for him. Yeah. And then even going to a couple of neighborhood associations, kind of the same thing, very like liberal pockets, if you will. But they're like, it's so cool that you're running. Yeah. And I was talking with one of our council at large folks, candidates, and he was like, yeah, they probably won't vote for you because they've always voted Democrat. Like that's just how they're going to vote. Yeah. But like the fact that they are still saying like, yeah, it's really cool that you're voting and wanting to, or running, and want to hear like your ideas and not like completely shoving you away. Yeah. Like that's a big step.
That's really cool.
So yeah.
Well, it's Yeah, I think when you get to a point where you're voting, like voting on a presidential race, you're never going to meet that person or get to know their character. But when it comes to local, I mean, me personally, I voted for conservative, Democratic, independent across the board when it comes to local, because I know people and it's based on, I know that person, I like that person. I may not agree with them on all these different things, but I know I can at least have a conversation with them, and they're going to look at me as a human.
Be like, you're a real person. Hey, let's go grab coffee at the Electric Brew.
Right.
Like, that's something that you can do with a local politician.
Yeah, or you'll see them out. Like I'll see them at Goshen Brew Co. and I'll chat with them, or I'll see them out at different events, and it's more relational, and it's not team based. I really don't think on the local level. I don't see it more as a team based. Though there is that people will always have their team that they play for or vote for or whatever. But no, it's important to see your representatives as people.
Yeah,
and it's way more tangible than you can ever get to. Like even a senator, or we have some state representatives that live in Goshen. I don't know them. I don't talk to them, but I've talked to my district city council person. I've talked to my mayor. I've talked to, and I like that. That's tangible. That's cool.
Yeah.
I think too with obviously COVID, a lot of people realize that who is in office at a local level really does affect your world more than you realize. So do you think there's going to be more people engaged? I don't know if you look at numbers or talk about it as a party or whatnot, but I'd be interested to wonder if there's more people that voted in this past 2022 election than in 2018, Don't know. I don't.
So like more so like presidential, you mean?
I'm thinking more local.
Yeah. So in the local pockets, numbers have been down. They've been decreasing of people who've gone to the polls because they're like, I don't know any of these people, or like I want to vote straight one way or this way.
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't agree with everyone who is on that ticket, or I'm not going to go vote because this party only has like 3 people that I can vote for. So what's the point?
Yeah.
Whereas like this year, both the Republican and Democrat parties will have full tickets.
Wow. Because in the past, it's always been just maybe one person running on. Doesn't matter even if you vote for them or not, they're going to get the nominee.
Correct.
Wow.
And so so I feel like this year is going to have a lot more like turnout. 2 weeks ago, I think it was 2 weeks ago, the Republican Party and the Democrat Party, we met right outside of City Hall for right at First Fridays of this month. And we had a fair campaign signing. And all of us went up 2 by 2. So Republican candidate, Democrat candidate. And we signed at the same time.
Very cool.
So it was just like a way of us showing like, hey, we are like, we may be in different parties, but like we're wanting to have a fair election.
That's cool.
So,
there's a lot
which is really
mistrust,
neat. Yes.
Maybe on the national level. And I mean, I remember when Gore and Bush, right? And it took forever to figure out who it was. I mean, we were young at that point, but it's been in the zeitgeist of our national politics for a while that, hey, this isn't legit, no matter what side it is, right? But at a local level, it would be nice to know that, this is a fair. My vote actually does matter when I go and vote here.
It does. I mean, knowing that, not saying like everything that like that one particular party is doing is like a good thing, but like together we are Goshen. And having a space where we realize that, we recognize that, and ultimately we want to be a voice for the people. Whatever side of like that political spectrum that you fall, we want to be a listener to you.
It doesn't matter your whatever side you fall on. That's interesting. Do you have ideas on, let's say you get elected, Fingers crossed.
We'll see.
Kellam gets elected. What are your thoughts on how to stay connected with the community, specifically District 4? Because you get into it now, you're doing the job, but you want to hear the voice of the community. Do you have thoughts about like what you're going to do or how you're going to do that?
Yeah, so District 4, it's very divided of like where people are located geographically.
Yeah.
So
you got
like
a main road that probably runs right through it too.
my part of town, District 4, doesn't have a neighborhood association related to it. We have the one that
District 3,
like the District 3 that I went to on Saturday,
like East Goshen,
and then the one down here, downtown Goshen, the historical South Side. But everyone in between is like, I'm just on the outskirts of all of these. And so what I would like to see is some sort of, not necessarily a neighborhood association, but just a gathering of like those of us
members.
Community members, particularly within District 4, to know what is happening around us. But yeah, so that's one thing that I really hope to do. Working at Goshen College, so I'll kind of go back to that a little bit. So part of what I've been doing as an individual, as part of Goshen College and as not, is helping out with First Fridays. And so maybe having like a District 4 meetup or gathering at First Fridays and just kind of, or like me, if I'm elected, have just like, hey, I'll be at First Fridays, come see me. Let's grab like coffee or like, let's just hang out.
Yeah.
Maybe
throw in the cornhole.
Yeah, exactly. So just wanting to engage with the community. And I mentioned the place I work, knowing that there are employees who are also in District 4 that are like anywhere on like that voting spectrum. And it's like, hey, let's just have something here, or so still kind of brainstorming a little bit, but wanting to really be out and be engaged with this community, with this district,
or be like, hey, I mean, if you're connected to them, so you can hear what's going on, and you live in District 4 too. That's probably one of the requirements, is to live in the district that you're running, I'm assuming.
So yeah, if you're running for a certain district, then yes, you need to live in your district. I live on the outskirts of District 4, so like still within District 4, but bordering a couple of others. And so it's been fun. Like getting to know people outside of my district as well. I'm seeing like, hey, I want to hear like where you're at, what you want to see as well. And then kind of bringing that into my campaign or my district and be like, oh yeah, it looks like we kind of need that too. Or like, this is something that I should focus on with XYZ that is happening just down the road.
So that's really, one of the things, I guess, with city council, was that, I mean, I kind of alluded to that, but like, what authority does the city council have? Like, you talked about checks and balances for the government. Can you just walk me through kind of what the city council and how that affects either your district or even the city of Goshen?
Yeah.
Just a little education on what the city council role is.
Yeah, sure. So the folks who are on the city council would be the mayor, the district treasurer, and then the elected officials from District 1, District 2, District 3, District 4, and District 5. And then there's usually a student on the ballot as well, or like who is part of city council.
Cool.
And what city council members do is they vote on citywide issues, things that people have brought up, different ordinances about zoning or housing or sustainability or how we manage the environment or pretty much all of downtown Goshen was voted on by city council. Like where the stop signs go, where like all of these different intersections, what sort of supplies do we need? So really focusing in on like those issues, and then also like, larger and smaller. And then as city council, then making sure that what is voted on is taken care of in a timely manner.
Yeah, completed.
So checking in with City Hall, or checking in with the courthouse, checking in with the police, the judges, and getting everyone on the same page, on board.
Wow. So you kind of delegate. Comes in, you decide what happens, and then it gets delegated, and then you're managing that. Almost like a project manager in that aspect too, a bit.
In a way, yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Have you been to a couple city hall meetings? City council meetings?
A couple. Yeah. So the last one that I went to was about rezoning in Goshen. It was. We also talked about bike paths here in Goshen. We also talked about the new like garden that is out at Abshire Park. And so just like
that's all over the place.
What it took to get that there, what supplies that they still needed to build the deer fence.
Oh, I saw they put all
of so that all of the vegetation wouldn't be eaten by deer. Or
they've got an
by
orchard going up there. It's really cool. I walked it, and they have different types of plants native to our areas. It's very cool. I love what they're doing there. No, and I saw him put up. I went and talked to him. I like to go to Abshire, and I like to run that hill. And so I saw him putting up one time when I was running that hill. I went and talked to him. They're like, "Yeah, we're putting up a deer fence," because they were just munching. Yeah, they're absolutely going crazy. But that's fascinating. Bike path to this, to that. All over the place. But sorry, keep going.
So even just like some of the like city events that are happening. And like not all of them will be voted on by city council. Like certain businesses or other things, like they kind of manage that. And so like city council in a way is giving ownership back to the people. But a lot of that, like for larger issues that aren't specific to a certain business, like needing approval of people who oversee the city.
Yeah, and that's kind of the direction. And you're shaping every time, just slowly shaping Goshen.
Yes.
Whether improving or changing or molding. That's really, I never really thought about what city council does. And so I'm sure you've got.
But then like even, so I mentioned like the orchard or the garden that's over at Abshire is like, oh, I knew that this was happening, but now I get to hear all of the intricate details. What was the monetary amount that was used? Like hearing from the community members of like, hey, this organization need this much support, whether that be monetary or just like, hey, we need volunteers.
Right.
Can you help us get the word out? Can you help us with, raising these funds? And so city council also kind of taking the reins on that a little bit too.
Yeah. And helping direct that. What do you want to see with the arts? Because I love what you said. You want to do a little bit more focus on the arts in Goshen. We have already a really cool artist vibe here.
Yes.
There's a lot. I mean, we both went to Grace, so we know Warsaw, and there is art there, but to me, it wasn't the level that when I came back to Goshen, I'm like, man, we are doing stuff, whether it's on the meal race or if we have live music every couple of days, we have Ignition Garage, we've had all these different like art initiatives. What would you like to see even more here? What's kind of like that would be sweet to see.
Yeah, sure. So I mentioned that I'm part of the arts and part of the arts community, or at least I consider myself part of the arts community. So I am a violist in the Maple City Community Orchestra.
Wow.
Here in Goshen. I'm also a violist in the Symphony of the Lakes down in Winona Lake, Indiana. But then I've also done like plays and musicals in the area. A number at Premier Arts over at the Lerner Theater in Elkhart.
Wow. Yeah.
So like seeing different environments as well. So wanting to kind of pick and choose a little bit of what comes to Goshen. But like as a violist, there's not much here in Goshen for me as far as like where I can get supplies, where I can get new strings. Everything has to be ordered online, which as a musician, like you want to see a product before and test it out before getting it.
Yeah.
And so like I've ordered some strings or that instantly broke. And I was like, well, I already used them, so I can't get a refund.
Right.
And so like having a place like that here in Goshen that is really supporting local. So I love like TG Music and like Ignition Music Garage, where it is local.
Yeah.
And like that's something really important to me is supporting local. So if I have to go to a larger chain or online, it really takes away from our local economy.
Oh yeah, it goes right back out to wherever their home place is.
Yes.
You know, whether it's Atlanta, Georgia, or somewhere in California. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people saw that in COVID too, the local thing. They realized that the supply chain, the system we were living in that was just feeding us, started to break down.
And I really see that a lot, particularly within the arts community, of like, because of COVID or like other surrounding things that we didn't have any control of, what was here or what was local was then like closed down. And so then requiring us to go other places and support other local economies, which is fine. But if you want to grow Goshen, you want to support
the things,
the locals that are here.
Yeah.
So me, kind of going back into the affordable housing piece. So I was at Arts on the Mill Race just this last weekend.
Me too.
And it was such a great event.
Yeah.
I was there kind of mid-morning-ish. Had, great taco, hot dog. And
The Wiener
like,
Shack.
There were
good.
like, I'd never had a hot dog from the Wiener Shack before.
What?
And I
What'd you get?
was
Which
definitely
one?
messing out. I don't even remember the name. It had jalapenos on it. It had...
it was just...
I don't remember it. So it kind of reminded me of a taco a little bit.
Yeah.
And then as I was just eating, I was... just listening to the live music that was happening, and which was really neat, really fun. And then I was checking out a couple of the booths as well, of knowing so many people in the arts community, both here in Goshen, the established artists as well as the up-and-coming artists. But hearing some of like their stories, they're like, I'm not living in Goshen because I can't afford it as an artist.
Wow.
I am like, I find my supplies in this other city.
Wow.
And so that's why I'm focused there. And so hearing that.
And Goshen's just a place that they go and sell stuff.
Exactly.
Whenever they can.
And it's like, we want you here. You're important to us. As an arts community, I always say when I meet with visitors from out of town that Goshen is a thriving arts community. And so like we see that on First Fridays or events like Arts on the Mill Race. But realistically,
the in-between.
all of like a lot of the artists, they can't live in Goshen because housing prices are larger than they can afford off of an artist's salary. And so wanting to work with some of the builders, some of the landlords to kind of fix that issue.
It's I know I had a friend who was trying to get a place to rent. This is maybe 2 years ago, and we just went online. There was nothing. There was not one location. I think for a while there wasn't even place like I knew places would go up for sale, and then they would go down. They would be sold the next day with $20,000 or $30,000 more than what they had put up there. So just walked and said, "Take it now." And how would you solve that problem? You said working with landlords and stuff, but if we don't have an inventory issue, it's kind of like the economic factor of supply and demand.
Yeah. I think.
Been walking all day and now I get you talking all day.
Sorry, I was like, yeah. My mouth was getting a little dry, so I was like, I need to take a break here.
I'm almost done with my drink. I've just been letting you. Great.
So yeah, the supply and demand has been just a lot. There are some parts that like some of the lumber costs like we either can't get or are just too expensive that makes rent go up.
Yeah.
But in hopes that so over on County Road 40 there will be a new housing development. I think villas or condos. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah. I just was
But we're thinking that like some of this community will then move into like that area who are more established, who are
new house, right?
Exactly.
I've been wanting to move for a while, but
like,
I can't find anything. Now there's a new thing being built. I can move in here now.
And then it's like allowing either like those fresh college age students or just a younger family who is newer to the area or they just got married and they're looking for a place together.
Yeah.
That doesn't remind them of what happened before.
Yeah.
Right. And
this is
then it's like I now have a new place that I can afford because this family who is here, they moved out for something different, something new.
Yeah.
So we're hoping a lot of that happens, but in case it doesn't, really working with just the overall infrastructure of like everyone who would be needed, or like even some of the local like house flippers who like they buy houses that have either been condemned or
on auction,
have just bought on auction and fixing them up, and then once they're done, they move on to their next project. Whereas like someone else can move into that space who is looking for a house in this economy and in this housing market. So, which is one of my neighbors across the street. That's exactly what he is doing right now with that house. Is they bought it off of the auction, and now I was talking to him about a week ago as I was pulling weeds, and he was cutting the grass.
Yeah,
and I was like, "Hey, so how's the house working?" Like, just introducing myself, but then also just like
what's going on,
meeting people. Like I know that you're working a lot on this house, and he's like, yeah, we're fixing it up so that like this person I know can then move in.
Cool.
And so I was like, that's really neat. That's kind of the service mentality that we need more of here in Goshen.
Yeah.
Not just on the housing side, but just having people who love to serve and they live to serve.
Yeah. They see that this is a need there's a lot of houses in this area that are getting restored. There's one on this 8th Street that's getting done. And then there's one on Jefferson. I don't know, wherever that road is right over by the church. And and then there's even another one on Madison 33 that's getting, and they were dilapidated. Yeah. They were rough. And, people are going in. I don't know if it's La Casa or who is going in, and they are restoring, rebuilding, and then allowing people to get back in. So I think that's cool. It is needed. People are looking to move here.
Yeah.
And if you drive at any time, it's not 5:30 is rush hour traffic, but if you go at 2:30 and you see people heading out from the factories, a lot of them don't stop in Goshen. They go out even farther. Yep. There's a lot of people that work in our town that don't live here, and they want to live here. Yeah. So it would be cool to see more of that. I don't know how.
So I know a number of folks, they live in Elkhart. Yeah. Some live in Mishawaka. Some live up in Michigan. Yeah. So yeah, the southernmost part of Michigan, because it's like I can afford to live here, and there's nothing in Goshen. I would like to live closer. Yeah. But I just can't afford it.
Yeah.
And so, just hearing those stories as well, seeing people through different social media outlets, meeting people at First Fridays, like really hearing their stories of like, I really love Goshen. I am here every day, either for work or for just a leisure time, or I really love hanging out downtown.
Yeah. I see you there. Live here. First Fridays all the time.
No, I don't, because like yeah.
That's tough. I'm glad you're running for city council, because this is a complex, tough problem to solve, and it's going to take a lot of work from a lot of different people to make it move.
Yeah.
And
it's definitely not a one-person job.
Yeah,
that's why together we are Goshen.
And there's definitely not a one-size solution that will probably fit. It's probably you got to push a little here and move a little there and make it all. I was talking to my cousin who's does real estate around here. He's not from here, but he sells land, and he said that Goshen is he sells acreage typically, and Goshen is much higher acreage. The cost per acre is much higher in Goshen than anywhere in the surrounding area because of the Amish.
Yep,
they need that land, so they're going to, and they live in their community, and their community is Goshen. And so they can't drive, to some place. They need to be close and have access to things, and so. I'm just thinking, as you're talking, yes, it is so expensive to live here. Not so expensive. Like if I go out to the West Coast or East Coast, it's way different. It's way different.
Way more expensive.
It's still affordable compared, but it is tough. It's much harder than it has been in the past. You have if you do get elected, or whoever is running Goshen has very tricky.
It's a lot of wearing various hats. And it's like, this has to get done. Like, I want to be super nice about this, but like, if it comes time to it, it's like, this needs to happen. And really having that firm, like putting your foot down, being firm, but not too firm.
Right. You don't want to make enemies, but you also have to be, stand your ground, and this is what I believe.
Because you also elected me into this position, so I don't want to step on your toes.
Right. Yeah.
But like,
I have to live next to you.
I have to live next to you, but this also needs to get done.
Yeah.
So like, please and thank you.
Yeah. And it's probably going to be tough you're going to have to, and whoever's in these positions, and I think they're doing this, they're trying to communicate. Goshen, I get stuff from Goshen all the time. I like to read it because I like to know what's going on, and communicating what's happening is half the battle.
Yeah,
because then no one knows what's happening, and they're like, "Oh, you did this," and a lot of people assume stuff, right? I was gonna say this. I've seen people out canvassing for the Republican Party a couple of times. I think that the effort that the Republican Party in this election, from what I've seen I moved here in 2016, and I kind of lived here in 2015 when I graduated from Grace. I lived downtown Goshen in an apartment for a year, but I have not seen that canvassing push as hard as that's going on now. Do you think that's legit, or am I just now noticing it?
No, I would say that that's pretty accurate. As a Republican Party, we kind of establish certain times where we go out like as a group to hit certain parts within our district. So a couple of weeks ago, that kind of first happened where all of us went out together. A couple of us went out earlier today. Some of us went out on Saturday. And then I know a couple of other district reps, like they go out throughout the week. It's like, hey, like I have this ground that I need to cover. And I think because we're very confident in our ticket of who is running for these positions, that like we're eager to get started. Like even though we haven't been elected yet, we know whatever happens, it'll be for the Go to Goshen, and we want to really push that people go out to vote this November 7th.
Be a net positive no matter what.
Yeah.
November 7th. November 7th. Yeah, I hear you.
and so it's like, because we have a full ticket, and I think that's where that excitement, that eagerness comes from as well, which is, I think, the first time in a couple of cycles that the Republican Party has had a full ticket.
Wow.
And had a party that the Republican Party is happy with.
Yeah. Wow.
And so, like, we don't want to let this city down. And so we're just trying to get the word out as much as we can, whether that be going door to door, talking to people, or like putting up flyers, posters, hanging door hangers, like getting that word out.
Wow.
And so like next week, all of us have a Meet the Candidates event at the Goshen Theater.
Oh, cool.
So it'll be a way for the community to really get to know everyone.
What's the dates? Because I'm gonna post this on Monday.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
Thursday.
Give me just a second.
Yeah,
I'll pull that up here. I wanted to mention that, but at the same time, I was like, I don't. If
you don't want to
he
force
asked
it.
me what is the date, that's like, I don't know.
Oh, God. The date is, Google it. Just Google it. Meet the candidates.
So it is Thursday, September 21st from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the Goshen Theater.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That's cool. So is it all, it's the Republican candidates?
So it's everyone.
Oh, very cool. So it's a very,
Yep.
Wow.
So meeting everyone, getting questions asked. No, I wouldn't say like a debate style.
Yeah.
But it's more of like,
conversation.
Hey, let's have a conversation. Let's see what these issues are in Goshen. Kind of get everyone on the same page or thinking about the same things.
Yeah. All right. I'm running out of questions, which is great. So I'll ask you this last one, and you don't have to answer it, or because I'm putting you on the spot. But what is a story or something that you're like, man, I didn't even. While you're out, you're doing this, you're hearing like people in Goshen. What's a story that just like pops to you that like, I may have put you on the spot. Because that's what you're doing is meeting a lot of people, I'm sure, and you're having a lot of conversations.
Yeah. So I wouldn't say, I think my favorite type of conversation is all of the connections that can be made between one person and another. So I was at Dexter Park for the District 3, and a couple of like the attendees were Goshen College alumni, and they're like, hey, I had this professor, and it's like, oh, I know who that is, or like, I know their nephew. And so not necessarily like an issue that is being brought up, but I think that is my favorite type of story of really just networking.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, it really does make us more human. Like we are relating to people, which I think in any political situation, that's what you strive to do, but it's also harder to do, like once you're elected. And so even like starting that conversation and then like being elected, it's like, oh yeah, like we did talk about this. Like how is Johnny doing?
Yeah.
Or let's go get coffee at the Brew, or let's break bread over at JoJo's or whatever. But it's like you're establishing these relationships, but they're also relationships that will continue. Like you will continue to see these people. Yes, they're your neighbors. We are called to love our neighbors. And so like, how do we do that? How do we serve our neighbors? And so when it comes, like all in all, when it comes to this election and what like just being a candidate on the Republican Party for District 4, what that means is I love this community. I want to serve this community. I want to love my neighbor. And this is a great way to show that.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah.
That is so cool. As you're talking, I thought of another question.
Yeah.
So I know you had said something about one of the kind of platform things that the whole party is focusing is supporting our police in our community, and there's definitely a undercurrent, or even in the public right now, where there isn't a lot of support for our police at all. And so, what does that look like for you, for our community, or for like how would you support the police? And because I mean, and the other thing, I mean, you said I'll take it back a little bit too, because you talked about paying our teachers a great wage to be here, because we want quality teachers.
Yeah.
You know, and is that part of it too? Is paying our police to have quality policemen, things like that. So yeah, I don't know. What does that look like when you had kind of mentioned that supporting our local law enforcement?
Yeah. So, like, I know the local firemen, they have their events that they put on. So showing up at events, getting to know them, I think that is the best way to start that support. But then knowing like what good they do, like they do so much in this community, and a lot of times it's overlooked. Some happens behind closed doors or in different parts of town than what we're a part of, and they don't make the news. But like they are out protecting, they are out saving lives. They are like, they're heroes.
Yeah.
And so really just like saying that, like that is showing support of who they are. So I know, so the church I attend, Grace Community Church, when we participate in like various parades, whether that be the Elkhart County 4-H Fair Parade, or the Memorial Day Parade, but like going up to like the police guards, or like the police escorts, and be like, thank you for your service. Thank you for keeping this city safe. Like I witness so many times where the police, the fire department, like our local law enforcement aren't thanked. And so they don't feel appreciated. And so that appreciation, or like that, like an appreciation dinner, I think is such a great idea. I mean, yes, I get that like not everyone loves to be in the spotlight. I know I don't. But it's like, I want to applaud you. I want to thank you. Yeah. Like sit down and receive it from me. Yeah. Sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. It'd be cool.
And then also like giving to like causes that they support, of just another way of like, hey, I want to back you. I want to champion you. I want to champion your work, so that your work, whether it's you doing it or the next generation doing it, that it continues.
Yeah. And doesn't deteriorate. Yeah, law enforcement, it's important. Yeah, I think so. It's it'd be cool to see more relational connections that happen, like whether the firemen have a booth at First Fridays or the police have a booth at First Fridays. That'd be sweet to. I'm just dreaming.
So I know, like, so my parents, they were chaplains at the Elkhart County Jail while they still lived in the area, and so like I personally was able to get to know some folks within law enforcement. I also had friends who were on the force, both police and the fire department, and like just hearing their stories of or what they were doing, and they're like, I love my job, but like
they're in it. I'm
in it. Like I almost lost my life doing XYZ. Yeah. And it's like, no one knows that. Like I can't share that with anyone.
Oh man.
And no one, like, I feel underappreciated. Yeah. And so like, I love my job, but I also like don't want to be at my job. I'm also struggling to be a parent on the workforce.
I know. I lived with for a year, I lived in Florida, and my roommate was a firefighter / EMT. And the things that the firefighters and EMT people deal with on a daily basis, they're next to death.
Yep.
Constantly, and seeing people die in your arms. I mean, I've not had that experience in my life ever.
Yeah.
Thank the Lord. I'm glad. I don't want anyone to die in my arms.
Right.
But it's like that's something that you're doing daily, and it haunts a person, you know.
And it's really hard work.
Yeah.
And so like coming around and supporting them, whether that be like a monetary supporting or just being like, thank you, or just like going to their
some
event,
counseling,
or be like, hey, like let's give you like
I'm gonna pray for you.
So like prayers, or even just like, so when I worked at Subway, one thing that we did for every law enforcement officer that came through was we would give them a discount. And like that's just another way of showing appreciation for local law enforcement
doing stuff.
And it's like, you may be on the clock right now, and like we want to like speed this up for you, or like be like
here's a cookie.
Right? It's like I can't give away free food, but like I also want to like help you.
wait. Kellam never did that, but maybe Timon, if he worked at Subway, would. That's very cool. Yeah, I just wondered when you had said something about that. That made me wonder, what that looked like, and appreciate you caring about our law enforcement that way. So that's cool. Yeah, regardless if you become if you get elected or not, you definitely have that heart, and that's a cool thing. A servant's heart, bro. Yeah, I appreciate it. Where can people? All right, what's the calls to action? Obviously, let's run through that list again. You said,
so getting out to vote November 7th, from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. That's when the polls will be open.
Yeah.
And then if you want to early voting, that happens October 16th. So all of these dates are kind of coming up.
Yeah.
And then there is also Saturday voting of October 28 and November 4. But definitely push November 7 as this is the day I'm going to vote, as it is election day. You can also find like our information as a Republican Party. On wearegoshen.org.
Cool.
So wanting to keep all of us who are on this ticket, kind of, you can find all of our information there. So like where we went to school, what our occupation currently is, what sort of community service or organizations that we're a part of.
Yeah.
That like make us who we are. And we have an excellent ticket of just, wonderful people on the Republican ballot. Whether you vote Republican or not, vote. Yeah. Your vote really does matter. I know there are many times that people say, oh, it's just one vote, it doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, it's one vote. It matters.
Yeah. More local than ever.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
You can see someone saying that on a presidential, and even then it matters. But here in local, it sways things. Yep. It changes things.
It's like if there's a specific person or a specific party that you want to vote for, do it. If there's a person that you don't want to vote for, but like is in your selected party, like vote for someone else on the ticket. There's so many there's so many great candidates for this upcoming election on both sides.
Yeah.
And so it's like your vote determines the future of this community that you live in.
That's wild. Yeah.
So like it's crazy to think about.
Yeah.
But it's also like it's a reality. This is your home, whether you have been a lifelong resident of Goshen or just establishing your roots.
Yeah.
We want to hear you, and a great way to have your voice heard is to vote.
Yeah.
I was trying to combine voice and vote.
Yeah, voice. I like it. It's a new word. I like it.
Yeah, that's just me.
No.
I make new words.
We've been talking, not you. We've been talking for, an hour plus. Of course, eventually. And that water's some good water.
There hasn't been much that I drink it.
Good water over there. So, no, it's Ice Mountain. It's the good stuff. No, I vote November 7th. Where can people find you if they want to just follow you and what you're doing?
Yeah. So you can. So I do have a Facebook page that is just for my district, or like my campaign page.
Cool.
That is Kellam Venosky for District 4.
Okay.
You can also, look me up on Facebook, just my personal as well.
Cool.
And feel free to reach out to me that way. Many social media platforms. Whether that just be like a DM or just like engaging with the page, that's a huge support, or another voice to listen to.
Yeah.
So I keep all of those channels open for that reason and that's why I also say like, hey, you can find me on many places because I want to hear from you.
That's cool. I like that. I mean, that's how this got started, was an Instagram DM. You know what I mean? Yeah. So very cool, Kellam. Well, any last? I don't know if you have anything else you want to say, but run through your notes real quick.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I appreciated you being willing to come, sit down, kind of talk about your heart, talk about the vision, talk about the things, just your experience, man. It's been really insightful, and you dropped a lot of knowledge. I appreciate you explaining.
Yeah, it's been good to be here. It's been a learning experience for me as well. It'll also help me prepare for the Meet the Candidates next week. I was at a Republican Party meeting last night, and as soon as I introduced myself, they asked me a ton of questions, and I was like, I was not prepared to answer this, but like, let's go.
Yeah.
So like every step, it really is a learning process in the election. But then also like once elected, like, yes, it is like everything is happening kind of all at once, but there is a little like learning time for that.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Well, if you don't have all the answers, that's okay, because I don't think anyone does. And also, it makes you way more human. You know what I mean? To be like, no one wants the polished, perfect person. That's what scares me sometimes, when someone's too perfect. I'm like, ooh, I don't like that.
Yeah.
What CIA lab did you come out? Sorry. Okay.
It's like, I am definitely not a perfect person. And really, any student, any family that I've ever interacted with will tell you that Kellam is not perfect. I work, so at church, I help out with our preschoolers, our middle schoolers, and our high schoolers. They'll be like, yeah, there are some things about Kellam that I really admire. There are other things it's like, he's just doing what he does. He is just Kellam.
That's Kellam.
It's just one of those quirks.
Yeah.
So me, like, trying to be as real, trying to be as authentic as I possibly can, and like living a life of service, not only saying that I want to live a life of service, but actually showing it by doing it. So there are like people within my district who I have their kids in Sunday school at church. And so it's just like, hey, yes, like, and I love what I do. It's not like a chore to be up at 8 a.m. on a Sunday morning to be with 3-year-olds. Like, I love it. It's so energetic. I love the kids. And so that's, so kids love my heart.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, authentic, man. I really appreciate it. Any last things? Cool. Well, go follow Kellam. Vote November 7th. And I was going to say, there's been times where I don't vote straight ticket. I'll vote one one person this way, one person that way, one person this way, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's totally okay. Vote for people you care about and know, and they're doing good things, and shape Goshen. So November 7th, and Kellam Venosky for District 4 on Facebook, Kellam Venosky everywhere else. And what was the We Are Goshen?
Yeah, wearegoshen.org.
Wearegoshen.org. Awesome. Kellam, thank you so much for coming on, man.
Thank you, Timon. Good to be here.
Yes,
Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, man. All right, folks. Peace out. Bye.